This week we're going to do a slow flow practice for the hips and pelvic area. So strengthening around the hips, but also creating ease and release around the whole pelvic area. Let's get started. For this practice, you could have some props with you, maybe a couple of blocks or a cushion or even a bolster. So we're going to have an option to start with a reclining back bend in the beginning if you want to, or if you just want to come lie down on your back on the mat, then that is an equally good option. But if you quite like a reclining back bend in the beginning, then bring your props, whether it's blocks, pillows, or a bolster, behind your back. And we're going to start with that reclining pose. Like I said, this could be reclining onto the mat, onto the floor as well. So you don't have to create a back bend if you don't want to. But you have the option. And I'm going to suggest a reclining butterfly. So either bringing soles of the feet closer together, turning the knees out to the sides, or you might also cross the legs if that feels like a better option now for your hips, for your lower back. So that you could spend a couple of minutes in this first pose, sending some awareness, sending some release down towards the hips before we then start to move. So it's a bit of a yin start for the flow practice. You could have your arms, hands just resting somewhere next to your body, maybe on the floor, on the mat. Or you might bring hands closer to the belly, maybe onto your belly. If you could still rest the elbows on the floor. Or you might even bring hands onto the hips. If you find that it's a better way to maybe send that awareness and start to ease tension around the hips. Sometimes that kind of external touch might be quite helpful. Finding awareness, finding release. And then we'll find our breath as well. You could send a few breaths down towards the belly, as if you're breathing all the way down towards the hips, the pelvic floor. And let the exhalation soften. So finding ease now in the beginning and letting go of tension that we don't need right now in this pose, tension that we don't need in our practice today. Just notice how the body feels. Let's take a few more breaths here in the beginning of the practice. And then we'll start to flow more. We'll go into some movements. And keep your breath with you throughout the practice. So let the breaths flow together with the movements. And now, with your next few breaths, if you have hands on the belly, if you have hands on the hips, just let the hands and arms drop down on the floor. And from whatever shape you have in the legs, find the soles of the feet onto the mat. Bend the knees and then do a few windshield wipers. So swinging the knees, swinging the legs from side to side. Creating movement around the hips. You might twist even further, let the knees go all the way down onto the floor. How does the movement feel? Let's do a couple more gentle swings. And And slowly, you could either roll onto one side, come up through one side, or if you're in that back bend, you might start to roll yourself up. Bring chin towards the chest, reach hands to the backs of the legs, and slowly, slowly bring yourself into a seat. You could hug the knees. And then slowly bring yourself onto all fours. If you had those blocks there or other props, you can move them aside and bring yourself onto all fours. Now, once on all fours, tuck your toes under, and we're going to lean the pelvis back towards the heel. So it's a child's pose, but we keep the toes tucked under. You could lean your head down, elbows down. Notice if you'd like to open the knees wider apart. So giving a counter movement for the spine, for the hips after that quite long back bending butterfly, but also starting to find some awareness and sensation in the feet. We're going to have quite many poses on our feet today. So also sending awareness to the feet, to the toes. Maybe there's a bit of a stretch at the soles of the feet. Take another breath in and out here. And then from that child's pose, lift yourself onto hands and knees. Keep the toes tucked under. Ground your hands, and we're going to lift all the way up into downward facing dog. So now opening the backs of the legs, you could move from one foot to the other and let your hips move. You can imagine your dog has a tail. You're wagging the tail. Let the pelvis move from side to side. Another breath or two in downward dog. Let the head drop down. And then we're going to inhale, look forward, shift the weight slightly forward and step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. Let your left knee come down and bring both hands to the inside of that right foot, coming into winged dragon. Open your right hip, your right foot slightly out to the side, maybe even letting the right foot, the sole of the foot, come off the mat. And now pelvis can come slightly down and forward. Open the chest. Inhale and exhale here. So opening even more around that pelvic area. Another breath here. And then with the next breath, lift the pelvis higher up. Step your right foot behind you, extending the right leg. And now move forward and back a few times, kind of pumping to that right foot. Shifting the weight between the hands and the right foot. And the next time you shift the weight back, lift all the way up into downward dog. You can step the feet a bit closer, adjust where the hands are, head dropping down, pelvis lifting up. Breathe in and out. We're going to do those same movements to the other side. So now as you inhale, shift the weight forward, step your left foot to the outside of your left hand, and you can release the right knee down. You decide if you release the toes or not. And here we are in another winged dragon. And again, you can let the left hip rotate open, the knee can turn out to the side. You can even lean more to the outside of that right foot. Pelvis can come down and forward and opening the chest. Breathe a couple more times in and out. Big open shape around the hips. And then with the next breath, lift the pelvis a bit higher up. Step the left foot far back. And then we start to rock again forward and back. If needed, you can adjust where the hands are. Shifting the weight from left foot to the hands. Keep the hands active. We are going to lift into downward dog here again. So next time you shift the weight back, lift all the way up into downward dog. Again, pelvis lifting up. You can walk from one foot to the other, walk from one hand to the other. And then look forward to your hands and now step or jump your both feet to the outside of your hands into a yogi squat. You can open, turn the knees out to the sides, rotate your feet. Lower the pelvis down. And here you could lean onto hands. You could keep the hands on the mat or bring palms together in front of the chest, elevating the chest, the back a bit higher up. And breathing here. We're not completely collapsing down, so keep your core a bit engaged. So you still have that subtle lifting going up. Both heels don't have to be on the mat. That's very fine if they're off the mat. Take another breath in and out. And then as you exhale, bring hands down, shift weight onto hands and then lift the pelvis up, turn the feet into a full forward bend. You might extend the legs, you might keep the knees bent. It's a full forward bend, head hanging down, pelvis lifting up and feet pressing down. Breathe here in and out, shifting all the weight onto the feet. And then as you exhale, bend the knees and start to roll the back up. You can reach both arms up towards the ceiling, opening the chest. And then exhale, lower the hands, lower the arms down and heel toe your feet a bit closer together if they were very wide apart. We're going to move into our standing poses and we're going to start with the eagle balancing pose. So now shift the weight onto your left foot and bend your left knee. We're going to cross the right thigh and knee over around the left thigh and knee. And you could bring your right foot toes on the mat, on the left side of the left foot. Or if you like, you could reach your right foot behind the left calf, but make sure you're not twisting too much from the knees. But you're really focusing on kind of hugging the inner thighs towards the center. You can let the hips rotate inwards. And we'll just keep the palms pressing together. That might create some stability in the core and the upper body. Take another breath or two in and out. And then we're going to inhale, release those eagle legs and lift the right knee up towards the belly, towards the chest. We stay on that left foot. Now, as you exhale, send your right leg far back behind you into warrior 3. Standing leg could be bent or you can straighten the left leg. Next in-breath, bring the right knee back towards the belly. Again, lifting into the upright pose. And same again. Exhale, send the right leg back, tilting forward into your warrior 3. And once more, inhale, lift your right knee back up, lift the back up. And then as you exhale, step your right foot far back into triangle pose. So step the right leg back and you can open the arms, maybe adjusting your feet. So you find your feet, your legs into kind of either triangle or warrior 2 shape. What feels like a more stable place for you. And we're going to go into a triangle from up, down, and then from down, up. So as you inhale, now reach arms out and press your feet down, lift knees slightly bent. And as you exhale, tilt towards that left leg. And you could either bring hand on the inside of the left knee, slide it lower down. You might start to straighten that left leg, but make sure you're not just leaning onto the hips, but you're keeping the muscles around the hips engaged. And that right arm could lengthen up, or you might bring right arm behind the back if that feels better. Keeping the chest open, you might still turn gaze down, so you don't have to look up to keep your chest open. Both feet pressing down. Let's take another breath here, in and out. And then with the next in breath, lift yourself up. Lift both arms up, extend the legs. And then exhale. Now quite deeply bend that left knee and bring your left hand all the way down onto your left foot, or maybe to the inside of that left foot. So we're still bending in that left knee. Now again, open the chest, reach the right arm up, and either stay here or start to straighten that left leg, but still keeping that left hand down where you place that left hand. Again, right arm could also be behind the back, but still keeping the chest open. You can turn your gaze down. So now this might be a different experience of the triangle pose. Both feet pressing down. Take another breath or two in and out. Legs active. And then we start to close in. So you could look down, close the chest, bring both hands to the mat and turn your right heel, the back heel, up towards the ceiling. Bring the right knee down, and then you can untuck the right foot toes and send your pelvis back. So you come kind of sitting on that right foot, coming into an opening for the back of the left leg. You can either keep the back long, leaning forward. This might be plenty enough. I definitely feel a big stretch here already. Or you could lean your back, your head forward. If you want to stretch more along the back side of your spine as well. Take a couple of breaths here, in and out. Actively with exhalations, let yourself release down and forward. A bit deeper into that stretch, opening the back side. And then with the next in breath, lift your back up. Shift the weight back onto the left foot and step hands a bit further forward. We're going to tuck the right foot toes under and then lift up into a modified warrior 3. So now we're going to keep our hands, our fingertips on the mat, and we're going to lift the right leg up behind us. Standing leg could be here as well, bent or straight, but keeping the hands down and keeping hips rather closed, still reaching the right heel and head away from each other. Breathe in and out. And then with an exhalation, step that right foot down next to the left foot. And from there, lift your back up, reach arms up, opening the chest. And exhale, bring palms together in front of the chest. Let's go and do these same poses on the other side. So starting with the eagle, we're going to now shift weight onto the right foot, bend the right knee, and then cross the left leg kind of to the over and outside of that right leg. So you could bring left foot toes on the mat on the outside of your right foot. Keep back lifting up, keep lifting up through the lower belly, hands, palms pressing against each other. Again, you always have the option to wrap your left foot around the right calf if you want in your eagle pose. Make sure you keep the weight on the right heel as well. Again, inner thighs engaged. Can you feel the inner thighs kind of wrapping towards the center line? Take another breath in and out. So rather than pushing yourself down, keep lifting yourself up. And from there, as you inhale, release those eagle legs and start to lift the left knee towards the belly. Hands stay together. And we're going to exhale into warrior 3. So now send your left foot, left heel far back. tilting your back forward. And as you inhale, lift your back up, lift the left knee back towards the belly. And exhale again. Extend the left leg behind you. Remember, standing leg could be bent or straight. And once more, as you inhale, lift your left knee towards the belly, lift the back up. And then we're going to step into the triangle pose. So now step your left foot far back so that you turn your chest towards the long side of the mat. Open the arms and you're very welcome to adjust your feet. So it could be triangle, feet closer together. It could be a wide pose, almost like warrior two. And then we're going to go into those two triangles. First, from up, down. So right knee slightly bent. Inhale, reach out. And then exhale, start to tilt from the hips towards that right leg. Again, you could bring your right hand to the inside of the right knee. Maybe lower down next to the shin or even closer to the mat. But make sure you keep the legs engaged. Even if you start to straighten the right leg more, keep your feet pressing down. And to engage the core more, don't lean onto your right hand, but try to keep the whole torso active. You might look up. Remember, left arm could be behind the back. You might look down. Focus on keeping that strength around the hips. Take another breath in and out. Feet active. And then as you inhale, lift yourself up. Reach arms up, extend both legs. And we're going to bend the right knee. Bend it quite deeply. You might even slide your feet wider apart. And we're going to exhale, tilt all the way down to that right foot. So like a wide side angle pose. And you can bring your right hand on the mat or maybe on the right foot. And then you could see if you could start to straighten the right leg a bit more. So coming into a triangle from a different angle. And the left arm could be behind the back again. You can look down. Try to still keep your chest open out to the side. And breathing. Ground yourself. Let the exhalations ground you down onto the mat. Take another breath or two in and out. And then we start to close in. So slowly close the chest, bring both hands down, turn the left heel, the back heel up, and then bring the left knee down. You can release the toes and send the pelvis back towards that left heel. So sitting down onto the left shin, onto the left foot, right leg in front of you. We're going to go into a forward bend. Maybe just stepping hands further forward is enough. You can keep your back more upright. Or if you want, exhale and lean your back, your neck, your head lower down. And just notice how this second side might feel quite different, and that is very, very fine. Keep breathing, opening through the back side. The right ankle could be flexed, but you might as well point the toes forward. It might give a slightly different sensation. And then if you're leaning down, inhale, bring your back up. And we're going to shift the weight forward, back onto that right foot. Tuck the left foot toes under. And then lift the left leg up into the air. Again, into that modified warrior three, where we keep hands or fingertips on the mat. So we need to stay a bit lower down. And from there, lift the left leg up. Again, standing leg could be bent, could be straight. See if you could keep the hips about in the same level. Still keeping the back active as well. So we are reaching the head, the back forward, kicking the left heel back. And breathing. Make sure the weight stays on the right heel as well. So we're not just leaning onto the toes, not just leaning onto the hands. One more breath here. And then exhale, bring that left foot down next to the right foot. And then roll the back up. Reach arms up, opening the chest. Exhale, bring hands and arms down. Back in Tadasana pose. You can breathe here a couple of times in and out. And then we're going to do a couple of slow flows. With your next in-breath, reach arms up, open the chest. You can bring palms together as we exhale, dive down, bend your knees quite deeply, bring hands down. Either knees bent or straight. Inhale to flat back, so you're diving forward, opening the chest. And then exhale, bend down, step hands down, and step your both feet into plank. Now we're going to stay in plank, coming into side plank. Stay on the left hand, inhale, turn to the right, reach the right arm up, side plank. And exhale, bring your right hand down. Same again, inhale, turning to the left. So now right hand stays down. Left arm reaching up. And bring the left hand down. Once more to each side. Left hand stays down. Turning to the right arm reaching up. And exhale, change the hands. Once more, right hand stays down. Left arm reaching up. Side plank. And then exhale, bring both hands to the mat. Lift your hips up into downward dog. Head dropping down. You can even shake the head. We're going to step or jump back to the squat we had in the beginning, that yogi squat. So look forward to your hands and step or jump your both feet to the outside of your hands. Lower the pelvis a bit further down. And again, hands could stay down or bring palms together in front of the chest. Remember, heels might be off the mat. That is very, very fine. You can keep the core active, lifting the back up. Take another breath in your squat, in your malasana pose. And then exhale, we're going to dive into a forward bend like we did in the beginning. So lift your pelvis up, turn the heels back, let your back, your head lean down and forward. And then as you inhale, roll the back up, reach arms up towards the ceiling. And we're going to go to the second round. So again, exhale, diving down, bend the knees, bring hands down. Inhale to flat back. You might extend the legs, diving forward. And exhale, bend the knees, bring hands down, step into that plank. And we have those 4 side planks again. Now leave your right hand down. Inhale, turn to the left. Left arm reaching up, opening the chest. And exhale, slowly come down. Leave left hand on the mat. Inhale, twist to the right or turn to the right arm reaching up. Same again, exhaling, right hand comes down. Inhale, reach the left arm up, turning out to the right. Once more, left hand down. Inhale, turn to the right arm reaching up. And exhale, bring both hands to the mat. Lift the hips, lift the pelvis up into downward dog. Head dropping down. A last downward dog. So take a couple of breaths here. Feeling that reaching through the whole spine. And we're going to go into one more squat. So look forward and step or jump your both feet to the outside of the hands. Lower the pelvis down. One more yogi squat. And again, you could bring palms together in front of the chest if you want. Breathe here in and out a couple of times. Elbows could be on the inside of the knees, so you're kind of helping with the legs to keep the legs rotated open. And then from here, we're going to release the hands down, go into that forward bend, lift the pelvis up, opening the backs of the legs. And then you could heel toe the feet a bit closer together. Lean still down and forward. And we're going to go down into a seat and roll all the way down into bridge pose. So see if you could slowly bend down and bring the pelvis down and then lean onto the pelvis. You can help with the hands. And from there, roll the spine down, vertebra by vertebra, coming all the way down. Keep the knees bent and bring your arms next to the body. Heels, feet pressing down. Exhale, lift the pelvis, lift the back up into a bridge pose. Opening through the chest. You might bring hands together, interlock fingers under your body. And then exhale, release down. You could do a couple of windshield wipers like in the beginning. Just rocking a bit from side to side. And then we're going to have one more twist. And we're going to try the eagle legs here. We had eagle legs already standing up. Now we'll try them here, but this is very optional. So we're going to come into reclining twist, and you have an option to now bring your left leg on top and around the right leg, like sitting cross-legged at the desk. And then you shift your pelvis a bit to the left and lean both legs to the right side. Now you could bring a block under the knees, under the thighs, opening the chest up towards the ceiling, finding a twist, an eagle twist. You might open left arm all the way out to the side. It's very possible that the left shoulder is not on the mat here, that's fine. You could also step your left hand onto your belly, onto the left side. And if the eagle legs don't work for you here, just release that crossing, have the legs on top of each other like a regular reclining twist. Both options are very, very fine. But with the eagle legs, you might get a bit more of a stretch on the outside of that left hip and thigh. So if that's something you enjoy, then you could try the eagle legs. Take another breath in and out. And then exhale, draw in through the lower belly slightly and bring the legs back to the center. Release any crossing in the legs. And we'll do the twist to the other side. And here, if you want to cross the legs, bring the right thigh on top of the left. So crossing the legs. And shift the pelvis slightly to your right and bring knees towards the left side of the mat. And see if it works on this side. Maybe there's a block under the knees. And then you could open the right arm. Again, you might open the arm further out, or maybe bring the hand onto your belly. See where you feel that the right shoulder is quite happy, so you don't need to tense your body. And again, even if the eagle legs worked on the first side, it might be that they don't work on the second side, so feel free to release the crossing at any point. Send a few breaths down and up along the spine and down towards the hips, down towards the pelvis. And then exhale, drawing in through the belly. Lift your legs back up to the center. Release any crossing you might have had in the legs. You could rock a bit from side to side. And then it is time for a well-deserved Shavasana pose, resting pose. And now you could extend the legs, traditional Shavasana pose. You might go back to that reclining butterfly we had in the very beginning if you find that that's a more releasing pose for you now. Feel free to open the legs. Or maybe there's a different pose, a different shape that would work for your legs, your hips right now. And if you want, you could bring hands down to that hip area. Take a few slightly deeper breaths in and out. You could exhale through the mouth, let out a few sighs. Let the body take a moment to rest. Let the hips soften. Let the whole pelvis start to feel quite heavy. Also release tension in the upper body, in the shoulders, in the neck. Release even your jaw. Might wiggle your jaw from side to side, open and close the mouth. Find a moment of peace and quiet in your resting pose. Give yourself a few more breaths in that resting pose. And then start to bring some gentle movement back to the body. You can wiggle your fingers, your toes. You can even stretch arms over the head, along the floor, reaching the whole body along from hands down to the feet. And then slowly start to find your way up into a seat. You could roll to one side, bring yourself up into any easy seated pose. Leave your hips soft, leave your back, your shoulders soft. As always, if it's part of your practice, you can bring hands, palms together in front of the chest. And most importantly, thank yourself for taking this time to check in with your body, check in with the breath. And I thank you very much for joining in the practice. Namaste. Thank you. Good. Thank you so much again for joining in. If you enjoyed the practice, please give the video a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And share the practice with anyone who you think might need some movement around the hips. Thank you again, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!